Hello, welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor Crop Life and Crop Life Iron, here again with Lara Sowinski to talk shop. Laura, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. I see your backdrop is very appropriate, a cornfield, although this time of year the corn probably looks a little more, shall we say, fallish as folks are harvesting it. Um, but yeah, we've got some news to share with our viewers, and I'd like to say it's good news, but well, it probably won't be. As I mentioned, of course, this is harvest season. Most of the folks in the Midwest and Mid-South and throughout the country are busy in their fields trying to bring in their harvest and see what kind of yields they ended up with for the year. But we got a report from our friends at the U.S. Drought Monitor, and we've been talking about how dry the conditions have been for the United States here in 2024, and apparently it's not getting any better. Back in July, the nation was at about 19% overall when it came to drought conditions causing field conditions to be, quote unquote, very poor to poor.
Mm.
And I'm unhappy to report that as of September 17th's report from those same folks, the nation's now up to 46%
Wow.
of the pasture land and fields are considered dry to very, very dry, very poor conditions. So, and just, the report actually I saw gave a shout out to our friends here in Ohio, where I happen to be located. And I know it's been very, very dry. I think I've mowed the lawn maybe 4 times all summer. And they mentioned the fact that 75% of the area of Ohio is in drought conditions. And they specifically called out soybean. They said soybean, about 28% of the soybean in the state of Ohio is suffering with drought conditions. So
Yeah.
again, it's been a rough year, water wise for a lot of the country.
Yeah, I didn't realize it had gotten that bad. I mean, I feel like even in the last week or two since we've been talking, I mean, you mentioned that, but man, that's 46% was the
Yep.
yeah, that's pretty severe.
Yeah. So how are things in your neck of the woods down there in Texas?
Um, Actually, as far as the city of El Paso, we are very, very behind as far as our rainfall where we should be this time of year. In fact, I think even la last year, which was a dry year, was a little bit more than we've gotten thus far this year. So,
Wow.
pretty bad, I think. So,
Well, I know it started raining here in Ohio this past week, so keeping our
mm,
fingers crossed that maybe it'll be a wetter fall, at least, enough gaps in between for folks to get their crop in off the fields. But
sure, sure.
yeah, but certainly I'm sure the moisture will help, and if we have a snowier winter, then maybe by spring things will be back to quote unquote normal. So.
That would be great. I feel like we're for a variety of reasons, economic reasons, et cetera, we're all looking towards spring. So spring, don't let us down. Let's get the rain going. Let's um, untangle these supply chain snacks. Oh goodness. So
Well,
I
speaking of supply chain, before they kick this to you, I know that based on what we were talking about a video or two ago, this might be our last video before there's a longshoremen strike across the country taking place on September 30th, I believe, is their last day for work. So, what update do you have on that, and what else do you have to share regarding supply chain stuff?
Yeah, we're days away from September 30th, which is when the contract expires between longshoremen and waterfront employers on East Coast and Gulf Coast. So the ILA is the union for the longshore, East Coast and Gulf Coast. I honestly thought that maybe we'd see a little bit of movement, negotiations, kind of back and forth. Thus far, it's I don't know, not looking good. Not to mention we are literally days away. I did want to give a few details though. in fact, it was last week's retail week that you were asking, if and when would the federal government get involved. Um, News from Feed and Grain indicates that National Grain and Feed Association, along with 55 other organizations, our friends at the Agribusiness Association of Iowa being one of them, sent a letter to President Biden urging immediate action to prevent potential disruptions at port operations on the East and Gulf coasts. The letter emphasized the critical importance of keeping these ports operational as U.S. harvest season begins. Quote from the NGFA, as the harvest season gets underway, even the slightest delay in moving American products efficiently has a disruptive and harmful effect on our supply chain and economy. According to the article, approximately 40% of U.S. containerized, not bulk or but containerized agricultural exports move through ports on the Eastern Gulf Coast. And if this contract expires without a new contract in place, October 1st, next week, we could see the results of that, things starting to slow down or come to an abrupt stop. The letter also warned of potential consequences. Quote, if port operations are stopped, the impact on the ag supply chain will quickly reverberate throughout agriculture, potentially lowering farm gate prices and halting or slowing operations. So, yeah, in addition to this pending strike with longshoremen, uh, this compounds other supply chain challenges, including rail embargoes affecting trade with Mexico and low water levels on the Mississippi. And I wanted to update, this is from Agriculture Dive, kind of recapping what's going on with the rail embargoes into Mexico. This all comes down to capacity constraint. Um, Major U.S. railroads have paused grain shipments into Mexico. Um, Obviously, a lot of exports go into Mexico, anything
Mm-hmm.
from raw goods and agricultural goods to finished goods, et cetera. And the railroads, because basically too much traffic, and they have to kind of pick and choose. The ag shipments are getting the lesser priority over other finished goods, which is making it very, very difficult again. Um, the rail capacity is challenging trade and placing Ferromex. Ferromex is Mexico's line, but Union Pacific owns about a quarter, well, about 26% of Ferromex. So this is not only impacting Ferromex, which is the carrier in Mexico, rail carrier, but most of the class ones here in the US. So for BNSF, the largest grain hauling railroad in the US, they are reporting that service to and from Mexico has been undeniably challenged, with volumes in the first half of this year increasing over 11% over the same period last year. Union Pacific, again, which owns 26% stake in Ferromex, said at least 18 trains are held either en route or at origin for crossings at Eagle Pass and El Paso, my hometown here in Texas. So just cannot get this stuff moved, which is really, really bad. Again, compounding what is already, a pending strike, low water levels. These embargoed trains, excuse me. But I wanted to desperately end on a high note, or at least something that will be neutral. Um, and this is from our Agribusiness Association of Iowa Friends newsletter a few days ago. So just a reminder that the Iowa Certified Crop Advisor Board is reminding those that the deadline for registration of the next testing period for the CCA exams is October 21st. The exam can be scheduled to be taken anytime between October 30th and November 11th. Registration can be completed on the National CCA website, and that's certifiedcropadvisor.org/exams. So study up, get out there, register, take the test, pass it.
All
And
good advice on that. Yeah, it's sad to hear about all this transportation, logistics, supply chain, how all those issues. Because again, this is the time of year, as I mentioned, harvest is coming in. There's going to be a lot of grain that's going to be going into storage, and then hopefully heading to destinations around the nation, around the world. And we certainly don't need disruptions to make that process any more complicated than it already is. So, fingers crossed that, like you said, I saw the report too that the Biden administration is being asked to step in and not have a longshoreman strike. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they will do so like they do with the rail service. So, but we'll find out next week. Stay tuned for next week's video. We'll have an update, I'm sure.
yeah, I just, my 2 cents, and this is just my 2 cents, is that the longshoremen, my sense is they have a little more leverage than they've had in prior years, or at least they feel emboldened to the point where, unless they kind of get what they're asking for, they may not budge. So I hope this doesn't draw out. I just wanted to add to, oh gosh, some of the major shipping lines, Maersk Line, Hapag-Lloyd, CPM, CGM, are implementing surcharges for cargo. Some ships are or if this should happen, they're just going to be held out at sea. There's no room to accommodate everything that's on the water currently to come in. I mean, and Container Exchange, I get their news updates every week. Their CEO is saying that should this strike occur, it would cost the U.S. economy $1 billion per day.
Wow.
$1 billion per day. So that's, yeah. And I don't
know, not fun with numbers. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Right. So
all right. Well,
to be
hey, I was going to say, let me see if I can bring us a little back up here. So,
please.
Okay. As I mentioned last week, of course, one of the things I attended was the annual Farm Science Review in London, Ohio, just outside of Columbus, on the Molly Caron Fairgrounds that the Ohio State University owns. So, and in addition to seeing a lot of the new equipment and equipment that's going to be introduced for the upcoming season in 2025, there were sessions. And of course, last week I had a video clip from a gentleman talking about crop inputs and the farm gate views. This week I have a clip from a gentleman named Chris Dean, also from the Ohio State University, and he was talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and how it's going to tie into agriculture as we move forward over the next upcoming year, and years forward from there. And he pointed out some of the reasons why it's becoming popular, but I will let him explain in this video clip. So listen to it and enjoy.
A couple of big things. John Deere, if you've been across a road, you'll see See and Spray. That's artificial intelligence, and they're using that to detect green-on-green weeds in a crop canopy. But you'll also see autonomous equipment that's using for path planning, autonomous, no operator in the cab driving. You'll see that across the road as well. And then a lot of the stuff with drones, path planning there as well, autonomous weed detection, and just overall crop protection, see how healthy your crop is.
So what is driving the big initiative for AI? Why is it being deployed? They're so out and about for the agricultural space.
Yeah, so I'd say there's three things probably. One, we have the technology. So there's software side, there's hardware, and then we also have the capability to store the data. So one thing that AI models need lots of data. So if anyone's seen Amazon, Google, they all have these big warehouses that they're putting up to be able to store data. We can store a lot of data to be able to train these models. So I guess the data and the models. And then we have the capability to create models that are able to make a prediction. If you're given an image, it's able to tell you what is in that image. That's what a model is. And then we also have the capability, if anyone's heard of NVIDIA, they make GPUs. So if you don't know who NVIDIA is, they're one of the biggest companies in the world right now, based off their earnings and the stock market. But they make a GPU. So if you don't know what that is, it is a card that is able to process images. So if you play video games, that's what runs your processing. It gives you good graphics, allows that to be processed very fast.
So that's what our friend Christine from Ohio State University had to say regarding AI in agriculture. I know, Laura, I mentioned last week's video, Crop Life 100 time. We're gathering data from the nation's largest ag retailers, and we asked a question about AI and its penetration into the marketplace. And to suffice to say, folks they're thinking it'll be something, but that it may develop a little slower than people anticipate. But again, technology, that technology advances so quickly these days. I mean, you buy some piece of technology today, and probably next week it's going to be outmoded or outdated. And we will have to see what happens in 25. But again, it'll be very, very interesting to see how AI develops in the ag community. And of course, we here at Crop Life, we have the Tech Hub Live event that comes up every summer. It'll be held again in 25 in Des Moines. So again, stay tuned for lots of updates on this category as we move through the next coming months. So
Sounds great. Good clip. Thank you.
all right. Well, hey, now it is time for your favorite segment of the show. Time for Fun with Numbers. Miss Laura, I've got a number for you. Not a percentage, not a dollar amount. This is just a plain old number, but you may want to write it down because there's a decimal point in there. So 183.6. 183.6. That's your number.
Okay.
So it was 183.6, Miss Laura. Is that A, the anticipated number of bushels per acre for corn in 2024? Is it B, the anticipated number of bushels per acre for soybean in 2024? Is it C, the anticipated number of bushels per acre for wheat in 2024? Or is it D, the anticipated number of Kleenexes I will use this weekend now that it's allergy season? And yes, I do sneeze my brains out when certain things start pollinating and putting out mold spore. So
I thought you were going to say the Kleenexes because you're crying because your Browns are going to be playing and they may lose again.
no, this is purely sneezing my brains out.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Oh, goodness. I'm going to go with soybeans.
No, Miss Laura. Given your backdrop, I figured this was going to be a no-brainer for you. No, the correct answer is A. It is corn. Yeah, the USDA released their forecasts a little while back where they were talking about crop production for 2024. And for corn, they mentioned the fact that they're expecting that overall production of corn will decline 1% to 15.2 billion bushels total. But despite that fact, farmers are expecting record highs in yields, 183.6 bushels per acre. So that's one of those bad news, good news scenarios.
Yeah.
A little less overall production, but the folks that are bringing it in are getting higher numbers and higher yields, which hopefully translates to higher margins and profits down the line. So,
Well, I hope so because I sounded like those people on a game show where they're not sure. It's like, I'll take soybeans, Monty.
Yes, and I know our videographer enjoyed buzzing you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I had a 2 week streak and then it's over. So,
All right.
okay.
Well, that's all we have for you this week. Hopefully, next week, viewers, we will have lots better news to share, more positive news to share in the marketplace. But as always, we appreciate you joining us for this week's Retail Week, and we will see you again soon.
If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.